You're listening to the Roundin Third Baseball Podcast, presented by Beyond the Monster.
So I know you made your major league debut this year. What was that? Just take me through, getting the news that you're getting called up and that whole process.
Yeah, so we were probably about 2 weeks into the minor league season, and we were at home in Durham, and I was with the Rays at this time. And, we had a normal day planned, and the manager texted me, and I was living pretty close to the field. He texted me and asked me to come in early and come see him in his office. So I knew that was a little weird. And so I got down there pretty quick, and he brought me in his office, said, look, this isn't a for sure deal yet, but there's a good chance that you're getting called up for the game tomorrow. And he said it depends on how Taj Bradley throws in the game tonight. He was making his big league debut that night, and if he was able to cover some innings and do well, then it would have been, I would have been added to the roster the next day. If not, then they would have had to call up another starter probably. So I got on a plane that night, and Taj was pitching while I was on the plane. So I had no idea how he was doing until I got off the plane. He was in the fifth inning, and I said, "All right, I think that's going to be enough. I think I'm going to get, And sure enough, they called me that night and said, "Yeah, you're getting activated." And it was a day game, and that was the 13th game of the season for them, and they were on the run of 12 in a row. And that 13th game, I got to pitch in. So and they won 13 in a row, which tied the record for consecutive wins to start the season.
Yeah, well, it's just that first day, like going to the ballpark, showing up at the Trop, like I'm gonna make my debut today.
Yeah, I was lucky because we had spring training at the Trop for about half of spring training was at the Trop. So I actually got to pitch there a little bit during spring training and got to I knew my way around, by the time I got there. So it wasn't too unfamiliar, but there was still, kind of that nervous energy in the air, I guess, of like, hey, this isn't a spring training game, and there's going to be a lot of people here watching this game because we're playing Boston, and so they had a good crowd, and just the whole experience was really awesome.
Yeah, I remember looking at your line. I think you struck out 4 guys and only walked once, so not a bad debut, especially against a team like the Sox.
Yeah, I Jeffrey Spring started that game, and he unfortunately tore his UCL that game. That's when he tore his UCL and got hurt. And I think the reliever that came in after him was only able to get 1 out, and we basically were running out of guys quick. And that was the reason I was there, because they were pretty taxed in their bullpen. And they called down after the 6th inning and said, hey, Braden's got the 7th. And I threw the 7th, 8th, and 9th, and everything went as planned. I walked the first guy, and then after that kind of settled in and was able to, pitch about as well as I ever have. So got the save, and I couldn't have drawn it up any better.
Yeah. And speak about getting the save. Is that kind of a situation like being in a high leverage, role, having to get those final 3 outs?
Yeah. I mean, at that point, that was my 3rd inning, and they asked me after my 2nd inning, hey, are you good to go back out? And everybody's looking at you when you get into the dugout. And so I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. If I can, I kind of knew what was on the line, and I wanted to be out there for it. Everybody wants to be out there for that situation. And so sure enough, they let me go back out there, and I just tried to stick with what I was doing. I didn't try to make it any different, those last 3 outs, any different than the first 6 outs I got, just those strikes and trusted defense behind me. And we got through it.
Yeah. I know you ended the season with the Tigers. What were some of the biggest differences you found between, the pitching philosophy with the Rays and then during your time with the Tigers at the end of the year?
Yeah, I had you hear as you're coming up through organizations, which teams are how their philosophies work and things like that. And the Tigers, I'd always heard, were pretty far behind, and that the Rays were pretty far ahead of everybody in terms of pitching philosophy and things like that. And that wasn't necessarily my experience when I got to Detroit. I thought they were really headed in the right direction, and I thought uh, their whole staff there was doing a great job with how they handled guys and their overall pitching philosophy. I think the Rays are just they're one of one when it comes to just being able to simplify for guys and just a constant, consistent approach and message that they're giving to their pitchers. But man, Detroit was way better than I expected it to be, and that's what I've been told. And so I was, really happy.
What was it like being, around Miguel Cabrera in his last season, getting to experience that for a little bit?
Yeah, the first game I was up there, and I was only up there, with Detroit for 3 days, and but it did seem like all 3 days that he played that he was breaking another franchise record or another MLB record of some sort. I think the one he broke when I was there was total bases. I think he passed Ken Griffey Jr. That day, and so it was pretty cool, man. I would go out and pitch. I'd come back in, and he'd be sitting there, and I'd be sitting there. I'm like, what am I doing sitting next to this guy? Like, it's pretty cool, just sharing a dugout with him. It's a guy that he's been playing for so long. He was playing when I was, in high school. He was in his prime, and so it was really neat.
Yeah, I would cover some games for the Rays this year, and I got to see him in person for the first time. I don't think I've ever seen someone enjoy the game of baseball, even just during batting practice. He was always walking around with a smile on his face.
Yeah, he's having fun, man. And you don't play for that long unless you are having fun,
Yeah.
So he was enjoying it.
And reflecting kind of back on your career so far, how would you say you've changed, as a pitcher compared to when you were drafted, compared to where you are now?
Complete 180. When I was drafted, I didn't know anything about analytics, spin rate, TrackMan, any of that stuff. And I was drafted by the Yankees. Fortunately, that's an organization that has enough money to keep guys like me around for a while, and so we figured it out. And they were able to break down things I did well, things I didn't do well, and they told me, hey, we think you would benefit to add this pitch, drop this pitch. And so I just kind of listened and took in as much information as I could. As I learned, I began to, more make decisions and direction changes for myself. And, it's all, for the most part paid off. You've got to be able to evolve. And I think I did a pretty good job of that throughout my career.
Yeah. What would you say is the best advice you've gotten so far, baseball wise?
There's different things I could probably say in terms of mechanics or game theory or whatever. But I think probably being your own best coach. Somebody told me that early on in my career, you got to be your own best coach, and it's true. I can't even count the number of pitching coaches I've had in the last 10 years, including college. Every level, you're getting a different coach. You're getting different eyes on you. You're getting different cues and thoughts thrown at you, and you have to be your own best coach to be able to decipher what's good and work with it, and what's bad and throw it out. So you got to know yourself really well and understand that all coaches are trying to help, but not all coaches know the whole background of where you're at and where you're trying to go. So make sure that you are still steering the ship.
Yeah. I have a non-baseball one, but I know you started Journeyman's Path, which I looked through. You should definitely check out because you have some great stuff on there. But what was your motivation behind, starting that and writing some of the things you have up?
Yeah, man. Thank you for asking that. It was something I've always liked to write, and I like to read, and I'm always trying to learn. And it was something that I've been thinking about for a while. I thought, what would I tell myself now? What would I tell my college self now? If I could go back in time and talk to that kid, and kind of the mindset things, and the things that I needed to know then that I didn't, and that took me a long time to find out, and that I'm still finding out. And I think that thinking about this last year and all the things that have happened, I was like, I need to get these things down uh, on paper, so that I can read back through them. One day my kids can read them, just the way their dad thought, and I can look at the way I was thinking when my life was going a lot of different directions, having a kid and making the big leagues and struggling after getting sent back down, like all the things, all the ups and downs. Where was my mind? How did I get through it? So, and I know that my college self, if there's any other kids out there or players out there, even in the lower minor leagues, upper minor leagues, or big leagues, that I feel like all people are struggling with stuff with their work. And I've been in a lot of AAA locker rooms, and that hinge point of being in the big leagues or being in the minor leagues, and there's a huge difference in the amount you're getting paid and things like that. So it's such a anxiety ridden place, and that affects a lot of people in the way they play. And I see a lot of my college self in some of my teammates that are in that situation. So I want to get this stuff down, and more to collect my thoughts on it, so that I'm able to better articulate that to my teammates, or to other college or high school players, or players coming up, and people just in general trying to do better at their job, or perform better, or live better, things like that. I believe that we're all kind of walking down that path, and it's better to, kind of recognize where you're at on the path, and where you're going.
Yeah. Of the posts that you've published, is there one that kind of stands out to you? Do you have a favorite so far?
I don't know. I like all of them. I feel like I put a lot of thought into all of them. I think probably the Sisyphus Stone post, and maybe the Fatalism post. I know that the Band of Brothers video that I posted, as that I linked in the Fatalism post, meant a lot to me. When I first heard it, I was like, man, that is, I needed to hear that. So probably those two. The Math and Music was the first one that I released, or that I posted, and that one means a lot too. I've struggled with that in the past, and still do at times. So, but all of them mean something to me, and there's more that are coming that I've already written that mean a lot to me. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, that was a cool thing I thought when I came across it. I love kind of asking players about, stuff off the field that they enjoy, because I feel like, you guys get asked about the game on a daily basis, but also talk about stuff you guys enjoy when you're not, pitching in front of thousands of people.
Right.
I like to hear about.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate you asking that.
Yeah. And I know, so since you've been in the majors now, the minors, do you have a favorite stadium that you've pitched at so far, kind of a top 5?
Well, I've only pitched in 2 big league stadiums, the Trop and Comerica with Detroit. And I mean, the Comerica is beautiful. Trop, they're working on updates for that. And but I'll tell you what, it's very important as a pitcher that you like the mound, and the Trop has the best mound I've ever thrown on. And I love throwing there. The fans were great. There was a good crowd that day. I had a great time there, and I always have that memory attached to that building. So it's hard not to say the Trop.
Yeah, I remember I was there for the first Brewers game of the season. I remember Weimer coming out to it, and he just looked up at the dome, and he looked like the most surprised person I've ever seen. And Yelich was kind of just in the corner, like laughing, watching his reaction.
Yeah, absolutely, man. When I was there for spring training, I went and took a video of it. I was like, I had to send it to my buddies back home. I was like, y'all aren't going to believe this. So
Yeah. If you could pick out one baseball memory, maybe not, I know your MLB debut is probably up there, but maybe other than that, what would be your favorite one looking back at your career so far?
yeah, MLB debut is far and away the probably the best memory I have on a baseball field. My junior year of high school, we won a state championship. That was a great feeling. We played in a regional when I was at Louisiana Tech. We played in a regional at Mississippi State, and I got to pitch in one of the big games there against Mississippi State. That was a great memory. I think the overall, I know a lot of guys say this, but it doesn't come down to really a lot of the games. Some of my best memories are just in the locker room, cutting up with the guys, doing that kind of thing. Like I love being around good teammates and just being around a team and having a good time. And guys are pulling for each other, you know, digging each other out of holes and that kind of thing. So I love just mixing it up like that. And just overall, I've made some great friends in this game, and I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Yeah. And kind of looking towards 2024, do you have any goals, that you're focusing on for next year, whether it's working on certain pitches or kind of what's your goals for next year?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't have any specific goals in terms of new pitches or anything. I think the goal is to get better at wash, rinse, and repeat with the pitches that I do have. Get better at just being able to consistently execute those where I want to, when I want to. And I think that's the game plan. And I think just in terms of goals for the next season, we'll see. I'm not huge on setting goals of like, hey, this is where, like, if I don't make it to this or do this, then the season's a failure. I want to be as as present as I can be every day, and I want to just work hard, honor God with my work ethic, and trust in Him. That's my goal. If I can do that, other stuff's going to take care of itself.